Lisa. I have recently gone back to knitting. I used to do a lot of crocheting and knitting when I was in my teens and 20s. Unfortunately, crocheting, that movement causes a twist in my wrist, and it's really painful. And so I had to give that up years ago. But I discovered that I could still knit, and I finally decided to do a little bit larger project than just a couple of small things I'd done a few years ago. So I bought some yarn, tried it out, see how it was going, and I ended up making myself a vest. And I liked it so much I just kept making things, and now I'm working on a sweater. But for what I wanted to do on this page is to show that I've gone back to knitting and talk about that experience. So I did a little selfie of myself knitting, watching Netflix on my computer, my most common thing that I do, and some of the projects that I completed: a baby sweater that doesn't have a baby to go to at the moment, a couple of washcloths, and this little cap, which I've gotten a lot of use out of that cap this winter. So those are my 3 photos, and I thought we would use my sketchbook to find a sketch to use as a guide for how placing these photos and make the page go a little bit faster. The way the sketchbook works, it's a downloadable PDF. The price is $8 US, and it has 75 pages in here. There's 47 scrapbook sketches and some card sketches as well. The sketches are organized by the number of photos, so I have 3 photos, so I would go over to page 23, and I went ahead and mark that to make it easy to find. I, of course, have printed mine, but you can use it on your screen as well. So I'm just going to flip through the 3 photo sketches and see which ones kind of work with the number of photos I have, or the arrangement of photos I have, because I have one landscape and a portrait. These are smaller than 4x6, and then another small landscape photo. This one interests me because it has a place for this photo, and then these 2 I could put in place. These aren't exactly the same size, but this one's pretty close, but this one I could still work with that. So I kind of like that. So I'm going to pull that out. Look and see if any of the other 3 photo sketches work for me. Here's one with 4x6s. Of course, you can rotate these, do different things. Here's another one that might work. I think I like this one better. All right, and now we're over to the 4 photo. Also, the book has some indexes in the front that if you have, for whatever number of photos you have, there are some additional sketches that would work for that, either by dropping a photo or adding another photo in fairly easily. So the 3 photo sketches, we looked at pages 23 through 29. We could also look at pages 16, 18, 31, and 32. And I've done that, and the one that I liked out of that grouping was this one on page 31. So this sketch would work really well for me. It's a 4 photo, but it's very easy to drop one of the photos out of this and maybe add some more journaling, or I think I'd like to add part of a knitting pattern in here as part of the design and sort of go with the theme of the page. So that's an option, or this one. I think I kind of like this one because I like the photos so that they're organized, you know, kind of in these straight rows instead of being at angles. I think that works better for what I'm saying on a page about knitting, because you need to be very precise. The one thing that's not going to work for me, though, is this photo over here to the right side of the page. I'm facing away from the page, and it's just like hanging pictures on a wall. When you hang a picture of a person on a wall, you want the person facing towards the middle of the room. Like if you have a window and you've got a photograph on either side of the window, you want the person to face the window, not to face the opposite, the corner. That's what I want to do here, is I want my photo to face the middle of the page. So what I'm going to do with this sketch, I think, is I'm just going to flip it. So I'm going to have this photo over here and these 2 over here. Now this sketch was designed around doing a pieced background with some die cuts, and that's what the video that went with it tells you. In the sketchbook, there's a video for each of the sketches that shows how I used this particular layout. on another project, but I don't know if I'll do the pieced background. As I say, I want to use maybe some knitting patterns, so I may just replace this with a larger piece of an old knitting pattern as my background and then put my embellishments and things on top of it. I feel sure I'll use some yarn for my embellishments. I've got a lot of different colors here. I've got blue, I've got the rosy color and purple and the aqua colors, so it's going to be hard to find a specific color that I like, and I think maybe doing the knitting pattern in the background just in black and white might be a good base for this page. Okay, so I've gone off and collected a few things. I pulled these out of an old knitting crocheting magazine, and I purposely picked pattern for something that I just knew I would never make. It was pillows, and I sew, so I really can't see myself knitting pillows. There's lots of other things to knit, so I don't think I'll use that. And then some very basic knitting instructions of things I know how to do. These are really good diagrams, but I think they would make a very good background for my page. And I printed out one of the patterns that I had downloaded for free off the internet that I made this baby sweater, and I might use a little bit of that in the background. I've typed up my journaling. So I have my photos trimmed down, and when I was looking at this for background, you're not going to see a whole lot of the background, and I liked that this had this burgundy here, and I have some in my sweater, and I thought, what about using a burgundy background? I have one sheet of 12 by 12 left of the old Bravo burgundy color from Stamping Up. I have a bunch of it in 8.5 by 11, but I had just that one 12 by 12, so I might as well go ahead and use that for the background. So I just need to decide how much of this I'm going to put on there, and then we'll arrange our photos. And a lot of it's going to get covered up. But let's see here what we want to use. Thinking about, I need to neaten this edge a bit. I didn't tear it very well out of the book. So let's lay these down and see how they're going to look on the background. I don't think I'm going to need any of that other one that I printed out there. I think it would just be too much contrast, and it would kind of become an element instead of part of the background. I decided to move my journaling up a little bit because there's some wording there. It's the name of the pattern, Diagonal Striped Pillow, that I haven't made and I don't plan to make. So I thought I might as well cover that up and then just leave the rest of those sort of general instructions that could apply to a lot of things showing. Now for my title, I'm using some Scrabble tile letters because they're big block letters. If I just put regular thickers across these words in the background, I'm afraid they'll get lost. And the title I want is Knit Take Two, and you'll see how I do the take here in just a moment. The sketch has some word stickers on there, so I was looking for a few things, and I had several different ones, including the sticker that I can use for the date that says I was here, and I can put the date on there as well. I'm just not sure how many of those stickers I'm going to use at this point. So I'm looking for the word take. I've got lots of this aqua color that I ended up using for the background for the journaling as part of one of the knitted pieces. And I want to put a little arrow or something there between knit and two. And I remembered that I had these little corner pieces that would make a perfect little arrow to point up there. The idea is that I used to knit and I'm doing it again. Now in between the journaling and that title, I've got some space there, so I'll probably put some more embellishment there as well as below the photo on the lower right corner to match what shows in the sketch. And I've gone to my leftover yarn and I've knitted a couple little sample pieces. And I was looking for embellishments and I found those stick pins, and I thought, well, those look kind of like little knitting needles, so we'll put those in. The sketch has some washi tape beside the photos, so I'm adding a few colors. I've ended up with a color scheme of aqua and yellow and the burgundy. Did not know where I was going with color when I started this because there were so many different colors in the pieces that I had knitted. But I think it's made kind of an effective color scheme. And I'm adding a button to another knitted piece that was knitted out of the same yarn as I did the little baby sweater. And just putting a little bit of baker's twine over the button. And these kind of things kind of have to be glued on with hot glue. And I've got a brad also on the right to finish up my embellishment here. So let's take a look at our sketch here, and basically we just flipped everything. So we have our 4x6 photo over here, and then these two photos a little bit different size, stacked up next to it with our title over the larger photo, some embellishment down here, a few word stickers. I didn't end up using a lot of those. A little bit larger journaling block. And I had room for a tad more embellishment, and I ended up putting the date in the middle of the picture instead of up there, and still got a brad in, but on top of this embellishment. Put a little washi tape on the side as shown there. And then the background for this being the knitting pattern and instructions and things, I think really goes with the page. So when you look at it, you know exactly what it's going to be about, and of course the knitted embellishments that I created, just little samples of patterns to and some of the yarns that I had used on these different projects. So we'll take a little bit closer look at that. Almost got that too far down there. And I got to use these Scrabble-like tiles because they really show up on these backgrounds of book paper. So thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you are interested in the sketchbook, you can download the PDF or you can find a link to download the PDF over on my website. Just check that out. It is $8 US, and it has 75 pages, 47 scrapbook sketches, and a few card sketches as well, and you kind of get an idea of how that works. A lot of great information. I get wonderful feedback about this product every year, and I have 2013, 14, 15, and 16 books available. So thanks so much for joining me.